Hi everybody, this is Tom Cherriams with the next video in the Amiga PAC-MAN series. In this video, we're going to be talking about creating menus or drop-down menus using Intuition's unique menu system. We'll go through the process to show what can be done with Intuition menus, and then basically go through the process like we have with every other video in this series, the process of creating the individual menu items and showing how to react to them when they are selected. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. As always, I'll take and show what we're going to be making here. We'll go over to our T-Disk and to our workspace folder. As always, this is on GitHub too, so if you want to take and pull this down and take a look at this particular exercise, you can. We have our PAC-MAN here, and you'll notice that, yeah, indeed, I'm using Draw Maze for a lot of these little test harnesses here. It paints just enough on the screen here so we can get an idea of how things sit and how it's going to look and everything. I've selected the screen here, the window actually that the PAC-MAN maze is inside of, and now if we press the right mouse button, which is used for Intuition menus, we'll see that there's now a menu bar at the top of the screen. Moving across the menu bar, we'll take and select a particular menu item, and moving down, we'll take and select sub-items in that particular menu. Now, of special note here, you'll see the usual suspects as far as menus go with text items right here, and some of those text items can have checkboxes and whatnot. Maybe we'll add those in later, maybe not, but this is a good start. Yes, we've got separators here. I need to add a little separator character for this right here, I guess. But you'll notice over here on the stage section a couple of interesting things. One, you'll notice that the menu items are not necessarily vertically aligned. You'll see that they're stacked here, but also that they are images. So yes, Intuition can actually have image-based menu items, and you actually can, ironically enough, mix them together that way in the menu. It deals with each item, taking and resizing the box as needed right here, and you can have, since PAC-MAN stages are all different fruits, it made more sense to use an image for the desired stage that you wanted to select. We could, of course, take and lay them out vertically like this, or we could take and just lay them out like this. It's all entirely up to you. And this is what we're going to be making here. And once you select an item, that's the end of it right there. Okay, great. Program exits. It's okay. How do we make this goofy thing? Well, let's start. As always, I've taken and prepared a particular directory out here on the side here, and this is basically stripped away based on the Draw Maze example. It draws the maze. No menu items are here in the first place. So I need to add a couple of things. One of the things that we need to add, you'll see that there is actually in here a fruits.h that contains all of the Intuition data, all the Intuition image data for each fruit. This has been borrowed from other examples right here. Of course, the empty slot, which we have, the key, the bit planes for the key, the Galaxian figure, the Bell figure, and so on, as well as the corresponding Intuition image structures for each, telling the top and left offsets that need to be used, the size of the image, how many bit planes it has, the pointer to its bitmap data, the plane pick and plane on and off values that are used to take and try to efficiently code the bit planes for each of these images. And if this Intuition image, remember too, especially in Intuition, everything is a linked list. You can take and add another image, so you can have one Intuition image potentially render multiple bitmaps. Multiple Intuition images, rather, each with their own structure. So, anyway, so I digress. We'll take and pull that to the side. We need to first and foremost include this in our code. So let's go ahead and do that. Roots.h. And then we need to kind of sit here and think for a moment on what types of things that we need to have in our menu. Well, in order to really answer that, we need to actually take and pull to the side a little bit and open up a copy of the Intuition Reference Manual. The Intuition Reference Manual is extremely helpful here because Chapter 6 has the chapter on menus and how to set up menus for your applications, how to implement them. It gives you a little bit of a list here, show you about what can you use menus for, just some basic things, sure. And it gives you an example Intuition menu here that is actually pulled from the RJ's version of the Graphigraph application with a nice little image right here. I like that a lot. You'll see here that we have the menu strip that is at the top of the screen. We have a number of menus, each with their own textual identification. Of course, these can be text or they can be image, ironically. And the items underneath can be a mixture of text and image here. But you'll also notice something rather interesting. You saw that in our original example, the Pac-Man example that I did the first of this video, all of the images were smashed up against each other. Whereas in this case right here, the images that are presented here are actually laid out so that there's a bit of padding in between. This is entirely at the discretion of the application writer. This is entirely at the discretion of the programmer. And you'll notice that in addition to all of these individual images here, we have a text menu item down here. And you have the ability to take and position where you want these things in relative to where the menu will be taken and rendered. And this is a very powerful feature. You'll see a bit about submitting and removing window strips. You'll see that the flow of operations should be, we should open a window first, then we take and do loops of set menu strip and clear menu strip. You call clear menu strip when you want to remove the menu strip from your application, from the window. When do you need to do this? Well, anytime that the menu changes, you need to actually clear the menu strip and then reset it again. Finally, okay, we're done with it. We close the window. After we've cleared the menu strip, we close the window. Bam. Okay, great. And then we have a bit about menu item boxes. An item box is the rectangle containing your menu items or sub-items. You do not have to describe the size and location of the item or sub-item boxes directly. You describe the size indirectly by how you place the items and sub-items. That's relative to inside the box. So Intuition will take and figure out how big the menu needs to be and build a box around it. So you can see kind of a visual graph here where you literally see the menu header up here on the menu strip right here. And it gives you some constraints of where the left and the right edges need to be. And then you take and see how the items are placed inside the item box. And it gives you some pointers on the constraints of where that item box needs to be. Not only that, but a menu can have a number of submenus. And it tells you in this chapter how many menus deep you can nest things. It turns out you can nest things a lot. It gives you a ton of flexibility. It also talks about the operation of the Intuition checkmark, so you can take and have toggleable menu items. You also get the ability to take and change what that checkbox graphic is. So if we had a check item and we wanted to change the checkbox graphic to something like a small version of the cherry or the Pac-Man pellet, we could do that. Maybe add a little drop shadow so you can see it, you know, stuff like that. You also have a section on mutual exclusion. This is important because you need mutual exclusion so that you can implement things like radio buttons, or just sets of an array of toggleable items where only one option should be checked. And you can use the mutual exclude field here to help you facilitate that. I'm not sure if we're going to use that here, but it gives you a good set of examples. Not only that, but you can also have, any menu item can also have a command key sequence attached to it. So you can say, if you take and set com sequence here, you'll find that you can take and press Amiga A to take and do the menu option, a shortcut for menu item 1, menu item 2, that sort of thing. So you can see an example of the com sequences here with the Command Q, Command X, Command C, Command V for cut, copy, and paste versus undo, that sort of thing. So some items can have command keys, some don't. Again, this is entirely at your discretion. You also can enable and disable menu items when they are relevant. So you can use the on menu and off menu functions to do just that. Finally, as I alluded to before, when you change the contents of a menu strip, doesn't matter what you change, you should clear the menu strip, alter the menu, and then put it back with set menu strip. Finally, the question of, okay, well, so let's say you've selected a particular menu number. Say you've selected a particular menu item. How do you know what you picked? Well, you'll notice down here it says that you need to add MENUPICK to a list of IDCMP messages that you need to take and pull. And then you can take and then iterate through each of your menu items, looking at the item number to take and figure out, deriving the item address, which is basically kind of a macro of sorts, to take and separate out the menu strip and the menu numbers from the items and figure out, okay, is this the item that we need to? Okay, not, then we go to the next item in the list, and so on, and so on. And it gives you a complete example of how to take and iterate through the menu items. We'll actually take and go through that. And for those that are very interested here, you'll actually see that it gives you a complete description of the packed bit fields that make up menu numbers. It's a 32-bit number that has been divided up into 3 major sections. There's a section, the lower bits are for the menu number, the middle bits are for the items within the menu, and the top bits are for the sub-items within the individual menu items. So for each of those, you can have up to 31 pieces. For each of these menu items, you can have 31 menu items, 31 sub-menu items, 31 sub-items per item. You have a lot of possibilities here, and it kind of gives you a quick little bit of arithmetic down here at the bottom to say that, well, if you take and divide this up on an 80 column display, you'll have potentially up to 1,953 menu items that you can select on a screen. Although for practical purposes, you probably wouldn't want to have that many menu items on a program because that would be extremely confusing. So, gives you kind of a little walkthrough of how each of these bit fields break down for menu number 0, menu item number 37, sub item number 1 of that menu item, and so on. Finally, you have a way to take and intercept these normal menu items, menu operations, so that you can do unique things from within the menu, such as dynamically reconfiguring the menu in response to different mouse events, that sort of thing. That's the menu verify functionality. So finally, this is essentially what we're going to do with everything that we've talked about here. It also kind of goes through and gives you 2 little subsections here for the right mouse button trap, so that you can completely sidestep this entire operation and provide your own functionality for the right mouse button. And finally, if you really want to, you can use a requester as a menu. Requesters are basically modal dialog boxes that take over and intercept all mouse operations for the duration of when that requester is displayed. But you have the opportunity to take and connect that to an Intuition menu event and use that in lieu of an Intuition menu. So with all of that said here, I know that was a lot to dump on at once, but this is a very important chapter to actually read if you want to take and do this. So using menus. So this is essentially what we're going to do. We're going to design the menu structures, put them into a menu strip. We're going to submit that menu strip to Intuition, which attaches it to the window. And then we're going to arrange for our program to respond to these Intuition messages. So how do we actually do that? The next bit here, the rest of this video is essentially going to take and focus on the steps that we are doing here to do all of that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out what items we want to put into the menu. Well, the best way we can do that is remember that each menu item, menu item, and sub item are essentially numbers that are going to be referenced. But we want to take and make nice constants for them so that we can refer to them easily. The easiest way to do that is to use define. So we'll make one. You saw that we had a game menu. So we need to add one for menu game. And inside of here, we'll have an item for one player start. And again, this is items, so it starts at 0. Remember, these are different parts of the bit field. Item 2P, start, the 2-player start. Define, item separator. We'll take and put a separator here, and we'll take and define item quit. So there's our first menu right there. But we also need to add one for the stage. So again, since this is the second menu, it gets the ID of 1. Item cherry. Item cherry. Item strawberry. Orange. Apple, melon, Galaxian, bell, and key. These are our constants, and we will be taking and referring to these from within our menu generation code. We also need to take and alter our window a little bit. Right now we have we're not intercepting any events inside of our window. This will change, but for now we need to add an event for figuring out whether or not we want to take and grab menu items or not. We want to intercept MENUPICK events. We need to add that there. And now we actually need to take and build. And just so that we can start and do this, we'll start with our very first menu here, and we're going to be building backward. Because this is a linked list, we can start at the bottom of the list here and work our way up, adding the individual big pieces as we use them. So our first thing we're going to do, we're going to create our structure for menu game, our first menu here. Just like everything else, the first bit that you see, you'll see it over here on the left-hand side. There's a pointer to next menu. This points to null because it's right now we're not going to point to anything else. This is the last menu on the list. This will change, however. And finally, we have some coordinates that we need to put in here. For our left edge, which is how many pixels from the left side of the box that Intuition gives us for the menu. How many pixels from the top edge will go at the very top here. And we need to provide a width for this item, which will be able to put all of the, which will put all the pixels for our letters. If we actually take a look and do a bit of quick math, that would wind up being 64 pixels, because 8 times 8, that's 8 characters, 64. But that's going to be a bit tight, so we'll add a bit more, 2 pixels on top of that. And we want it to be, since this is an 8x8 font, that's also going to be very tight. We need to add a little bit more space to put a nice border around the menu item itself, so that's going to be 12 pixels tall. And of course, this menu is going to be enabled, so we need to go ahead and take and put that menu here. We need to take and put in the text that we're going to use here, which is game. And then that is going to actually take and point to our first menu item. You'll see right here, struct menu item, first item. That needs to point to our menu item that we need to define. Mi1p start, which we'll go ahead and implement right now. So, Mi1p start. What's a menu item? Well, let's have a look. If we actually take and come in, we'll see on page 134 of chapter 6, there is the menu item structure. And what is part of the menu item structure? For right now, that's going to be null. Because we're not going to point to anything yet. And that needs to go 0, 0. Okay. Again, top edge, left edge, width, and height. And we need to set some flags so that Intuition knows what it's dealing with for this particular menu item. Well, this item contains text, so we need to set item text here. Pardon me for a moment, I have to remember how to hit the brace character. I always forget when I come back, when I lose time from this. Sorry about that. I had to remember which key was the backslash and brace. Okay, so we need to set item text first and foremost. We also want to make sure that this item is enabled. And we also want to make sure these are fours. There are different ways that we can take and set how the menu item is selected. You can either choose to inverse it. If it's text, you can choose, or text or image, you can choose to invert whatever the item is, which is what's called high comp. It just takes and chooses the complementary color for that particular menu item. Or you can choose to draw a border, a rectangle border around the item. That's the other option. So it's do you want to make a square? Do you want to make a filled rectangle for your menu item selection? Now, with that, those are all the flags that we need. This is followed up with a mutual exclusion flag, which we don't need. This can be 0. But it also needs to take and point to, first and foremost, we don't put, since we can have a combination of either a text item or an image, they chose instead to use a general avoid pointer here for the particular item to fill. In our case, it's going to be a pointer to an Intuition text structure, which we'll fill out again in a moment. And we want to take, and do we want a command? I don't think we need a command here. Nope. We don't. Null, 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 and null. Nothing else. So there we go. This is the bottom of that particular item right here. Okay, fine. So now we've got a menu. We have the menu item right here, and the last thing that we need to define so that this thing can have to know what to display is we need an into-a-text structure. The into-a-text structure we've seen before, we've used it elsewhere. Top edge, So detail pin, block pin, which rendering mode do we want to use? I want to use Jam 1. Just put the foreground pixels on here, no problem. 0, 0, top edge right there. Null, nope. 1P, dark, and null. So that's everything that we need right there to take and fill this out. How do we take and drop this into our menu? It's pretty simple. We'll do a couple of things here first and foremost. We'll actually take and draw the border here. I will use the age-old trick of, yeah, okay, delay 600, that's fine. It'll eventually strop out, but I need to add a set menu strip. Set menu strip takes a couple of parameters. First is the window that we're going to attach our strip to, and the first menu that we need to attach to our menu strip. Conversely, we need to take and clear menu strip. And all it needs is just the window that we're going to clear from. Now, because we actually set in this window, we set a default text attribute to use our Arcade PAC-MAN font. Our Arcade PAC-MAN font is not just used for the window decorations. It's used for the menu as well. We haven't overridden that. We could if we wanted to, but we're not. We'll write this out, and hopefully this will compile without incident. And as many of you have been watching my series know, that those are famous last words that never ever pan out. So we'll deal with it as it happens. I apologize for not bringing more videos out sooner, but we've had some major things happen in this house that facilitated, amongst other things, a move of my office from the bottom floor here to the top floor, and a whole bunch of other things. And I've been pulled away on other things for FujiNet, basically trying to start up more bring-ups, namely the PC RS-232 version. So my time is increasingly divided. I also did a video not too long ago for December comparing Amiga and PC software development, so I had to get that out. But I will try to take and continue on the train of getting these particular videos here out, because I do think this is valuable information. And yeah, as always, drinking an energy drink. When I'm done here, I'll go out for a run. Hey, we actually got a compile to run the first time. Oh my God. Mark this day on the calendar. What day is today? I think that's the 22nd. Yes. Oh my God. December 22nd, 2024, first compile working as expected. Let's see if it runs as expected. So now if we take a look, we can see our menu item. So with that, we'll wait for the delay to happen, and we're out. So now we've created our first menu. How do we create the others? Well, much the same way. We have different items that point to different, that take and all link together. So the menu is basically one big linked list, and you just keep adding bits and pieces to it. So you'll notice that we have menu item. Okay, great. What's the next menu item? Well, the next menu item is Mi2P start. All right, let's get that sucker in there. All right, give me just a second to take and scoot myself in here. Mi2P start. And that winds up, we'll put that up above our intuition structure here, and it's much the same thing all over again. In fact, we'll just take and cut and paste this goofy thing so we can have something to work from. Yeah, I will actually do this here. Let's do it like this. All right. All right, so this is Mi2P start. Again, null. But this time, remember, one of the things that you have to do is you have to take and claim responsibility. Even though intuition will give you a box to accommodate all of your menu items, it's still your responsibility to take and arrange these menu items visually how you want them inside the menu bar. So our next item needs to go below, and it needs to go exactly 8 pixels below. So we'll change that to be 8. Same thing otherwise. Same parameters. 2P start, pointing to an intuition 2P start structure here. 2P start. Same goofy thing here. And with that, let's take a look. Mi2P start. Okay. IT1P start. Okay, fine. And there we go. And if we're good here, this should also compile without incident. Let's see if I can press my luck. It might seem silly to you guys that I'm not really talking about game logic or anything else at the moment, but I'm rather focusing on the Amiga-specific parts of this. But that's kind of the point here. I'm trying to get the Amiga-specific parts working so you can see how the parts of a game that are very Amiga-specific can work in context. And we will take and work in the game logic once we get the majority of all these different test harnesses and things working together, and we know that they can. These are things like figuring out for the ghosts, okay, where is my ghost target going to be for this frame, etc. So I can chase Pac-Man, or whether I need to scatter, that sort of thing. All of those things will be worked out, and those are well understood. And if you really want to know, you can take and look at one of the many different videos on Pac-Man reverse engineering if you want to get there before I get there in these videos. So with that, we should be good here. Let the linker do its thing. Okay, great. Now, if we do a menu here, again, we compiled without incident. This is good. Menu. Now, take a look. Now we've got 1 player start, 2 player start. We've got 2 menu items right underneath each other. And Intuition has resized the box for us automatically, right? How cool is that? All right. So now we go ahead and add the separator and the we add the quit options for this one, and this particular menu item this particular menu will be complete. So now you've seen 1 item, you've seen 2 items. We'll actually take and do the same goofy thing here. Once again, through the magic of cut and paste, we will take and do what's needed here to speed things up a little bit. And yeah, there's a lot of cut and paste. And you might be wondering, can you use an array for this? Yes, you can. I'm just showing basically the long way around so you can understand the fundamentals of what's going on here. So we have IT to please start. Let's go ahead and turn that into IT separator. I think that's what I called it. Yep, IT separator. IT separator, and how many dashes is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Okay. I don't have a dash character in my font here, so this will be blank. So that's what we'll see here, but I will replace this with something useful soon enough. So there's that. Of course, we now need to take and change the menu item separator now to be 16 pixels under instead of 8. So 8 more pixels down. It points to IT separator. Make sure that's right. Yep, okay. And same flags, same bits and pieces, just the movement here, and this becomes MI separator. We'll go ahead, put that here, much the same thing. Again, pointing to MI separator. Bam, okay, great. And finally, we'll take and go ahead and just add the one for quit, because we can, right? So we'll take and cut and paste. Bam, there we go. This is, of course, quit. All right, 16, and this should be 24, I think. The MI separator 16 and 24, yep, okay, good. Just, I can add, I swear. Okay, IT quit. IT quit, IT quit, MI quit, MI quit. And since this is the last item in this particular menu, it's going to stay null for its next item. We don't link to any of the other items because Intuition will take and peel those away from their respective menu structures. So IT separator, of course, MI quit. So there we go. We should have all of our menu items for our first menu in place, and we will go ahead and compile the result. Will this work 3 times in a row? Let's see. It should. I just cut and pasted. And I filled in all the little linky bits, so we should be okay. As long as I didn't miss a case. Is there anything else we want to throw in here while we're looking? So again, each of these individual flags and things are described in detail in the menu chapter here, as well as all the different menu item flags. So you can say, okay, is it checked? Is it not? Is it a checkable item? Does it have a command sequence? High box, high image, high none, or whether you don't have any highlighting at all. This is good for like just so that separators don't get highlighted, for example. You've got some internal flags here like isDraw and high item, etc. So there you go. lots of nifty stuff. And that really is quite literally the end of the menu chapter. It's very, very straightforward. It shows you what you need to do, how you need to do it, the structures you need to fill out, and how you need to deal with it. There's really not much to it at all. Okay, we're done. Let's take a look. 1 player part, 2 players start and are quit. Now I've got this right here. You'll notice that because this is enabled right here, you can take and select it. This is probably not what we want, so we can basically change that very quickly by taking and going, let's not do that. Let's not do that. And 1 second. Item text. Okay, no highlighting, nothing. Just that. Blah. Okay. So now that's not enabled or anything, so we won't be able to take and highlight over that. So that is particularly done. Now we can move on to our next menu item, our next menu entirely, which is our game menu, or our stage menu. Yeah, I called it, there's game and then there's stage. So now with the last one being IT quit, we can take and come all the way up here and do much the same thing that we did before with our main menu, except struct menu stage, bang, bang, boom. Here we go. Fill it out in much the same way, right? There is no other menu that's attached to this, so it's just null. Again, similar situation, except this time we are actually going to take and specify a left edge. You'll notice that this value right here is now 66 over. That's because the stage needs to be over. You can take and scoot this over as far as you want. You can place this on the menu strip as far as you want. And we will, of course, enable the menu. This is stage. And the first item for it is MI Cherry. Right? Cool. That's cool, isn't it? So we've got that, and the first thing we need to do is implement our menu item for Cherry. And you're going to see that it's very similar. Remember that these are graphical menu items, but they're defined in much the same way as textual menu items. The main thing that changes is the flags that are set and what it points to. So we'll take and set null for now for the next item. 0, 0, 16, and 16. So this is these items are 16 pixels by 16 pixels wide by 16 pixels high, because that's the size of the fruit graphics. We're not putting any padding or anything in between them, so they're all kind of getting smashed together. Now I'm going to show you something rather interesting here with the remember that we used to have item text, right? To say that, oh, this is a textual menu item. That's not here now. The only things that we have here are our highlighting option and whether or not that option is enabled. This essentially means that by default, Intuition menu items are images, which I find rather interesting, actually. So that really tells me right there that RJ wanted menus to have nice pictures. Really wanted menus to have nice pictures. I think that's an interesting detail. Again, no mutual exclusion flag here. And instead of pointing to an IntuiText structure here, we're going to point to an IntuiImage structure called iCherry, which iCherry, as we saw earlier in this video, is defined in fruits.h. We're going to point to that. And finally, the rest of these flags, null, 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 and null, and that's it for that. Cool, huh? We don't need to define an IntuiText structure because we're using an IntuiImage structure, which I've already defined elsewhere. So that's all we really need to do for this first graphical menu item. finally, now that we've got this right here, we need to go menu game. We need to come back here, and we need to point to menu stage, so that the two menu items are linked together in that, and so that Intuition's menu system knows to use it. Let's go ahead, write the file, and see how we get on here. Okay, not gonna say it. Not gonna say it. I'm just gonna let this happen. Let's see what happens here. It seems to be behaving. What? Okay, I said it. Now I've jinxed myself. Oops. I will say, even though this is like a two-pass compiler and whatnot, if you get past the first phase, you very rarely will ever have problems in the second phase. And if you do, then you have really thrown the compiler for a loop, and you should be proud of yourself. Looks like we're good. Okay, good. All right, now, and again, you'll notice that some of you have been asking, okay, we're atomizing everything and putting everything in chip memory right now. Yeah, that's a convenience thing right now. It's making what we're doing here much easier while we're taking and building everything out. But as we start building the main program, eventually, we'll be atomizing individual object modules and putting graphic data in chip memory while putting the program code and most of the data structures in public memory here to try and maximize the use of memory as best we possibly can. But let's take a look. Menu looking good. Now we have a stage menu, and now that stage menu has a graphic here. We still have our original menu right here, ready to go. Isn't that freaking awesome? I mean, look at that. That's just freaking awesome, right? Okay. Now we can continue on, and doing the rest of the stages is pretty much the same thing. And in fact, for this, what I'm actually going to try and do, let's see if I can improvise just a little bit here, and we'll add just a tiny bit. No, I won't do it. You can rest assured, if you take and modify these particular X and Y coordinates here, you can introduce or deintroduce a certain amount of padding around each item. This is entirely up to you. So for the next one here, we're going to take and go... I'm just going to come right back up here. Okay, and we're going to take and do the rest of these. There's not really all that much happening here. We're just going to take and cut and paste all this right here. And I'm going to take and alter the coordinates for each one of these. I will not type them all out. MI strawberry. So MI cherry, and then there's MI strawberry. Now it links to that. And this goes here. Okay, great. 001616 MI strawberry 16016616. There we go. Again, we want to the right here just a little bit. 16016616. This goes to I strawberry. I strawberry. Again, you can place these however you want inside the menu box. Intuition will gladly take and resize the box to fit accordingly. Really kind of cool. So, MI strawberry, MI... and MI orange. MI orange. Did I, hold on, let me make sure I actually did that. Yep, okay, I strawberry, I orange. This goes to 16:0:16:16. That should be 32:0:16:16. So now again, I orange. So what's the one after that? That's apple, I think. Am I apple? I apple. Am I orange? Am I apple? Okay. Am I apple? I apple. So 32. So the coordinates for apple, 48. Oop. Focus follows mouse. Okay. 48:0:16:16. Item enabled. I apple. Okay. And now, of course, I think the next one's melon. Yeah. Am I melon? Am I apple? Make sure. Am I orange? Am I strawberry? Okay. Just kind of making sure that all these are kind of linked together. Am I apple? Am I melon? Uh-huh. Am I melon, which means, am I melon? Is it, did I already, yeah, okay. Am I melon? I'm melon. And I think the last one here is 64, but I will double check for this row. Oh, so it's the next, okay, so it's the next row. So now at this point, we want to put this on the row underneath. So we start at 0, and this time we start at 0:16:16:16. Okay, same thing though, I'm melon, groovy, looking good. We can arrange this however we wish. This is just how it seemed to work to fit nicely underneath the drop down here. You can arrange these however you wish, and feel free to experiment with these to see how this all fits together. So am I melon? So now, Galaxian. And yes, I need to take, it's one of the things that's on my technical debt list to take and go through and clean up the graphics a little bit for the transcription errors. Uh-huh. Am I Galaxian? Mm-hmm. And there's 16:16:16:16. 16:16:16:16. I Galaxian. Uh-huh. I Galaxian. I melon. I apple. Yep. I apple. Uh-huh. Am I melon? Yep, just making sure. I melon. Uh-huh. I Galaxian. Very good. We're almost there. And Bell. Okay. Am I Bell? Mm-hmm. I Bell. And Bell takes up, what's the 32, 16:16:16? Yep. So you'll see how the coordinate sets, how all the coordinate sections all file out. And the next one will be I key. Yeah, Mike, you'll eat it. Okay. Mike, you'll eat anything. Okay. Sorry. Ancient joke. Even though I'm Gen X, I know way too many boomer references. This is, yeah, confuses the hell out of my coworkers. Since this is the last menu item in this menu, there is nothing else. So 48, 16, 16, 16, 16, 32, just, yeah, I key. So that should handle all of that. So let me make sure, okay, make sure that's connected to that, make sure that's connected to that, make sure that's connected to that, very good. Make sure that's connected to that, yep, okay, good. And apple, orange, always pays to do a little thumb through. Strawberry, and finally the last one should be the cherry. Yep, and I think we're good. Okay, so now we've got our stage menu set up, pointing to the first menu item here, and if everything is okay, we should build okay. I've been pushing my luck here just to see how long I can make before we actually hit a compile error. It might be right now. And I hope this ultimately proves without a shadow of a doubt that there were those of us who had these ancient compilers and we were doing actual things with them. We were writing actual programs with them and getting shit done with them. Yay. Okay. Man, my luck has been fantastic today. And now I'm going to lose it. This is going to be the jinx, because after this is done here, the next thing that we're going to be doing is actually taking and implementing an event loop so we can actually take and react to these menu events. Because right now what's happening is the intuition is setting these menus up, and while we are hitting the right mouse button, intuition is taking over all processing with highest priority to take and deal with these menu items here. So our program is frozen while intuition is handling the menus. It's one of the peculiarities of intuition itself. So, menu, have a look. Okay, game, stage, and there they are. There are our little, there are our menu items right there, looking nice and neat. They're all stacked together. Of course, if you want to, you can take an experiment with altering the padding for each of these items right here so you can see them spaced out versus not, etc. But even with this right here, I think this looks pretty nice. And you'll see that our separator doesn't react anymore because we've turned off the item enable for it. Beep. So with that, the delay is basically keeping it on there, and the delay is happening. So while intuition's doing its thing, when we let go, that delay has already happened and the program just stops. So yeah, with that, we're good there. It's rather interesting. One of the things I really like about programming on the Amiga was that there were a number of conventions established that that treat the programmer and the user as intelligent people both. I appreciate that. So right now we have this delay that's sitting here. This is not very useful. In fact, we actually need to start dealing with our menu events first and foremost, right? So we need to actually build our event loop. Okay, so first thing we need to do, we need to get rid of this. We need to do a forever loop here, bang, bang. And inside this forever loop is our event loop. Well, what do we need inside this forever loop? Well, we need a pointer to the current intuition message. And this is going to be basically filled with the get message that we do below. And we're going to wait right here. Every window, every intuition window has a user port attached to it for the express purpose of getting events for that window. Specifically, the signal bits for that window. What's going to happen here is that the program is going to be sitting here at this wait. This particular task is going to be sitting here at this wait, this particular process. This is a process. So this particular process is going to be sitting here at this wait here, waiting for something to happen. And while that happens, the kernel can preempt and it can do other things. So normally what we would do here is we would have some sort of switch that would basically look at the message, the message type and react to it. But since we're only looking at IDCMP events for MENUPICK, well, we can basically get away with just saying, okay, we waited and it will drop here when we finally get something. Well, okay, we got something, so let's grab it. It's a pointer to a message that we need to pull up here. And we need to grab it from its message port, or its user port in this case. They call it a user port here. Okay, fine. Bang, bang. So now we've got this while loop right here. And we're doing this for as long as we are receiving messages. We do the following. We grab a couple of things. We need a menu number. This is implemented as a short, and this is part of the message. It's part of the code field for that IDCMP message. If you want to know more about events, again, spend some time inside the Intuition manual seeing what the data structures are. And we'll have a little variable here which we call C. Now, we need to, at this point, take and we're given the very first pointer to the very first menu item right here, this menu number. We need to iterate through each one of them. And we need to pass it the very first menu in the menu strip to start with. Okay. And we need to say menu number. Menu number. These are macros that basically split out the menu number and the item numbers. And they're defined inside Intuition H. Item num. Now, if hold on, I'm running out of space here. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. If we're inside our menu number menu game and we pick item quit, then yeah, we quit, right? First thing we do is we go ahead and say, okay, reply to that message, Ruby, right? We want to do this to be nice to Intuition. And we'll just take, and I have a buy here, we'll just take and eject right out, right? So now go to buy. All right. Otherwise, and this is the important bit, we go to the next item in the list. Remember, we built this linked list here. Now we're basically just iterating through it. Okay, that's it. At this point, we can say bye, we clear the menu strip, and we leave, right? There are a couple of variables I need to take and define, and these are basically just ints. Not much, nothing too special here. We'll go ahead and I'll just put them at the top of here for the sake of convenience. It's fine. Okay. And finally, we do need a temporary structure for a menu item, right? So you have the menu item number. These get iterated through, and through each one, it takes and attaches itself to the next one. And you can see item getting itself attached here based on the item address, pulling itself in each time, right? And that's all we really have to do. When we buy, we clear the menu strip, we're done, and then we do our usual cleanup. Let's see if this builds as expected. All right, here we go. We're going to push our luck to see if this is essentially going to be the very last part of this video right here. We're going to see if this builds as expected. If it does, I'm going to freak. Even though I am, of course, looking across my notes, there's always a chance for transcription errors. It just happens, you know? Okay. It's doing an awful lot of quad writing. I think we're okay. Oh, darn, right there at the end. Okay, so 374. Okay, we're almost there. Did I not? Okay, hold on a second. See, did I not implement? Hold on. C equals. I didn't use it anyway. Okay, never mind. It's fine. So warning, 30 pointers do not point. Fine, so 374. That's where the problem is. We got one error. Okay, not doing too bad. Oh, really? Excuse me. Frickin' typo. Okay. All right. Let me see if there's something else. Let's see. So 384. Let's go to 384. Item address, menu game, menu number. All right. Well, it's mad about something. Okay. All right. Never mind. I guess it's just one of those things. We'll just say we saved it. Now we just go again. Oh, I killed Emacs. That's okay. We'll open it back up again if we need to. Darn, got all the way to the end with one little typo, and it was just because somehow a stray comma got in there. Okay. To tell you the honest truth, the Amiga is one of my favorite programming environments in terms of retro computing environments. I do not like writing code for the PC. I do not like writing code for the Atari ST. I do not like writing code for a number of different systems. But I love writing code for the Amiga. It's nothing like it. It's very clear that they put a lot of thought into how this system fits together. Okay, very good. Atom works. Okay, so we're heading, it seems like my videos are on average taking about an hour and 15 minutes. This is good. Okay. We're right on schedule, it seems. With a lot less mistakes this time around. I'm very happy. Okay, so now we have this. And if we run, one of the things that we'll see right here is that now we're sitting inside this event loop. And we can sit here and wait. It's not going to time out because there's no more delay anymore. But it's sitting inside of an event loop waiting for something to happen. And we're preempting here, so we're still able to take and multicast very cleanly with the rest of the system. And now if we take and go to a menu to take and select, let's take and select quit. The program quits as expected. So there we go. That's the end of this particular video here. Well, what's coming up? The next video that's coming up is actually going to be dealing with plotting the pellets, how we take and deal with plotting all the pellets. We'll see how simple this one winds up being here. But I'll go ahead and show you a preview of what will be coming up next. So we're going to be building this guy right here, which takes and plots all the pellets on the display here. So, okay, guys. Until next time, have fun.